Have you ever wondered how you could more easily format your documents in Google Docs? Well, you might consider using styles. Now, styles in Docs are not as expanded, let's say, as they are in Microsoft Word, but there still are some things that you can do to make your document formatting look more consistent, and you can do that more easily by using styles. Hi, I'm Terry, one of the Consumer Technology Specialists for Mid-Continent Public Library, and let's look at how we can use styles to our best advantage. For our first example, let's go to the top of our example document where it looks like we have a title here using Google Docs styles. And as I look at the toolbar, I don't really see anything that says styles, but on the left-hand side here, I see something that says normal text. And normal is actually a style. So let's select using Google Docs styles. Then let's go to the right of where it says normal text, and actually as I rested my mouse over it, see how I now have that little tooltip that says styles? Well, I can click the drop down and it says, oh, you can add a title, a subtitle, and different headings. Now the only thing about Google Docs is it has very limited default headings or title and subtitle. It doesn't get very fancy, and the reasoning behind that is, for the most part, people only need just a couple of heading styles and maybe a title and subtitle. You can create anything else that you need, but sometimes people get so excited about using styles that they in fact kind of overdo, and it makes your document sort of visually confusing if you have too many styles that people can't really relate to. So we're just going to go with title. Now, as I rest my mouse on title and go to the right and go to that right pointing arrow, I can see that it should have let me go back just so we can see it a little better, apply the title or update the title to match. Now, update to match is something we'll address in just a little bit, but we have either apply title or just click on the word title, which is what I did, to in fact put that style on those particular words. Now when I click on that, you can see as we look at the toolbar here that it's still Arial, but it's now 26 point. And if I come to the text color, it says that, yes, it's just that solid black. It's not bold or very fancy really, but it does definitely distinguish the title from the rest of the text. Well, let's come down to the next line, which I believe is a subtitle. And again, I'm tempted to just select all of the words for the subtitle and then go back up to our normal text button, click the drop down, and this time it looks like maybe it's gray, so I could click subtitle, or as I go to the right, I can apply subtitle. Either way, let's apply subtitle. And when I click off of that, yes, it is definitely gray, and it's a smaller font, although it looks larger than normal. So let's click in that subtitle, and we can see when we look at the toolbar that it is 15 point, and when I come over to the text color, it shows, yes, it's a dark gray. So yeah, that's not just my imagination. It really did change the color. Why it did that, I'm not so sure, except, well, it's a subtitle, so we don't want it to stand out as much. Well, going farther down in this document, we have heading 1. So let me again select the text. So heading 1, go up to where it says normal text, that styles button, click the drop down. And as I rest my mouse over heading 1, or even just go to the right a little bit, we can now click on heading 1 just in that main drop down. We could apply heading 1, or it also tells us that there's a keyboard shortcut of Control-Alt-1. Well, we'll try that in just a bit. For right now, let's apply heading 1. And as we look at heading 1, we can see that it's 20 points. So it's larger than the subtitle. And as we look at the color, well, we've gone back to just kind of the basic black here. Well, I think I have more than one heading 1, so let's scroll down. And this time, let me select another heading 1, except I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut. So we're going to do Control Alt 1, and yeah, look at that. It actually worked, and we have another heading 1. Now here's something that's even kind of a shortcut. I can click anywhere in that heading, just one click, so you can see that your insertion point is just sort of blinking somewhere on a word within that heading. And then we can also do that Control Alt 1, and it changes that entire heading to that particular style. Well, let's go back up to the top. And when we do, let's see, we had heading 1, but we also have heading 2. So let me just click in heading 2 now that we know that we can just click in it. Go back up to the toolbar and come down to heading 2. And again, I can just click on heading 2, I can apply heading 2, or it says I can use Control Alt 2. Well, let's go ahead and click on apply heading 2. Now heading 2 is 16 point. Let's look at the text color, and it's black as well. So the only real difference here is that it has changed the font size. Let's come down because I believe we have more than one heading 2. Yeah, let's click where it says another heading 2, and this time we can use Control Alt 2. So let's do that. And there we have another heading 2. Let's see if we have another one in here. Yeah, we do. So I'll click again, Control Alt 2. Well, let's go back up to the top. And as I scroll down, I see that I do have examples here just waiting for heading 3, 4, 5, and 6. So let's click on heading 3, go to our styles box, and here is the drop down for heading 3. And so again, I can apply heading 3, or I can use Control Alt 3. I'll just apply heading 3. And let's see what that did, because that actually indented, didn't it? It's 14 point, which is a little bit smaller than heading 2. And let's look at the text color. Oh, it's a darker gray than what the subtitle was. So this is dark gray 4. So a darker gray and slightly indented. Well, now let's click on heading 4. Go to our normal text box, and it's kind of funny, when I first looked at this I didn't really see heading 4, but now that I've used heading 3, heading 4 has popped up. It may depend on the resolution of your monitor whether you see 6 headings all at the same time, or whether they sort of pop in individually as you add more layers of headings. But with heading 4, we can definitely see that in the example it's definitely smaller, and we can use that Control Alt 4. So I may just click heading 4 here. Well, heading 4 looks kind of slightly indented as well, but this time it also looks a little gray. So let's see, it's 12 point, and when I go to the text color, oh, it's back to the same gray as what we used for the subtitle. Interesting. Well, let's look at heading 5, and when I click on heading 5 and come back up to normal text and that drop down, let's scroll down, and there is heading 5. So I can click on it, or just as with the others, I could click over here on the right hand side to apply it, or I can use Control Alt 5. I'll just click here. And now with heading 5, let's see what we have. We have 11 point, definitely getting smaller. And let's look at the text color. Oh, it's the same color as heading 4. And then we have heading 6, which is the last of the default headings. We'll come back up to the normal text, and we're going to need to scroll down this time. So heading 6, ooh, it looks italicized here. We can apply heading 6, or you can use that Control Alt 6. Let's use Control Alt 6. So I'm going to go to heading 6, use Control Alt 6, and let's see what we have. Yes, now when I look at the toolbar, well, it's 11 point, but see how that I for italicized is now blue, and it has kind of a blue background, showing that that is part of that heading. And when I go to text color, it is still the dark gray 3, which is the same color as heading 5 or the subtitle. But we've created different heading styles, or at least applied them to our document. Our document looks a lot different because we've applied heading styles, and yet it was very easy to do. And I think you'll find that heading styles do make a huge difference in how your document looks. I've now reset our example document here so it looks like our first one did at the beginning, and let's go ahead and click in front of what should be our title, but this time we'll go to Format, Paragraph Styles, and come down to Title. Now we have the same kind of choices here. I can click on the word title just in the drop down, or I can apply title if I would rather do that. It's exactly the same as what we saw with the toolbar. If I come down again to Format, Paragraph Styles, and go to Subtitle, again I can click on Subtitle and even apply subtitle either way. If I go to Heading 1 then and I look at the Format and Paragraph Styles, I again get the helpful hint that the heading styles use Control-Alt and then the number of the type of heading I want. So this is Control-Alt-1 if I would rather do that. With keeping that in mind, then let's go ahead and do heading 2 by using Control-Alt-2. Let's come down with heading 3, do Control-Alt-3. Heading 4 is Control-Alt-4. Heading 5 is Control-Alt-5. And heading 6 is Control-Alt-6. And we can see that each one has its own style, its own way of using italics or bold or font size or even the different font. And as we come back up to Format and Format Paragraph Styles, we can see that again, besides those 6 heading styles that are really more evident, that we also have the same options to save as my default styles. And so let's talk about that. If I were to change these styles, I could change them and make them my default so that the next time I open up a document, it would use the styles that I've created and not the ones that come with Google Docs as the default. And I could use my default styles, or I can reset the styles so that they go back to the defaults that Google has set. With that in mind, let's talk about how we can actually modify styles. I'm now back up at the top of our document, and I think I would like to change heading 1. In some ways it feels like it's just too large, and in other ways it feels like it's not different enough. But before I do that, I want to make sure that all of my heading 1 text is also defined as heading 1. So I'm going to scroll down here, and yes, I have another heading 1. I'm going to use Control-Alt-1. And another heading 1 and use Control-Alt-1 for it. Now let's go back up to the top, and now I can make that change. So I can go to heading 1, and I'm going to change the font. Instead of Arial, I think I'm going to make it Comic Sans. And instead of 20 point, I think I'm going to pull it down to about 18. And then let's make it bold. Now here's the thing, I have some options, but remember I have 2 other heading 1s, and with a large document I could have 20 or 50 of these heading 1s. So I want to, if at all possible, change them all at the same time. Well, can I do that? Well, sure. One way is to come down to heading 1, where I've just made the changes, do a right click, and then at the bottom of this shortcut menu, look at this, update heading 1 to match. Now when I click on it, okay, you can't tell because this is the first one that I made the change, but as I scroll down, look at that, another heading 1 and another heading 1, and they all look exactly the same. Oh, well, then let's try the other method too. So let's select heading 2, which we know is already defined as heading 2, but I think we have some other heading 2s here, so yes. Let's come down, and that would be Control-Alt-2 and Control-Alt-2. Let's go back up to the top. We get also Comic Sans. And I think we need to make it a slightly small, oh, I always go up instead of down. So let's make it slightly smaller. We can make it bold, but let's change the text color to red so we can really see it. Let's make it italics. Oh, I kind of like that. Now, when I see heading 2, I can come down to heading 2, that's also in this toolbar, and go out to the right, and instead of applying heading 2, I can update heading 2 to match what I have just done. So let's click on Update Heading 2 to match. So I have heading 2, and then as I scroll down, look at that, another heading 2 and another heading 2. Let's do one more quick example, and what we can do is just select a word, and we might decide that while this is the normal text, we really don't like Arial, and maybe you want to save it to Spectacle, or maybe you want to use Calibri like Word does, or maybe you want to go back to, say, Times New Roman if we can find that. But whatever you decide that you would like to have as your default font, and Times New Roman is kind of small, so we might decide to make that 12 as well. Then we can still go to our normal text, click the drop down, and then to the right of that we can apply the normal text, and we can really, here's the most important part, update normal text to match. So let's click that, and now it has changed the default to Times New Roman instead of Arial. Now you need to go to Format, Paragraph Styles, and Options. Then we could definitely save that as our default style and use your default styles rather than Google Doc styles. So I could save this, and the next time I open a new document, it's going to have Times New Roman 12 as the normal style. To learn even more, visit mymcpl.org/online learning, where you will find online resources that include Universal Class, LinkedIn Learning, and Learning Express Library. Be sure to join us each week as we present a variety of tech topics. Each week we premiere 3 new videos. You'll be able to find them at 1 o'clock on Wednesday and Friday, or at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. You can find us on Facebook at MCPL 360, or if you prefer, be sure to subscribe to our MCPL MO channel on YouTube, where you'll be able to find our MCPL Consumer Technology Resources playlist.